So will you die if you drink the tap water in Thailand? Let's go and find out. I've been in Thailand for almost a month and my skin, my hair, my stomach, ultimate unrest. I cannot even describe how mad this is. It's just my body's not used to any of this. Dry skin, my hair's falling out. My body, my stomach is just not having it at all. And I'm not sure if it's just coming from the water, because water is a big source of contamination that could have a big effect on the body, but it could also be the sun, it could also be the food and so many other factors that, my body is just basically not used to it. Even locals are not using tap water. They're going for filtered for consuming water, but they do use it in cooking and brushing the teeth. Well, for expats, it might be a little different because, well, we're not used to this and they have grown up in this environment and their body is already immune to the things in the water. So what is making the water so bad for us tourists and expats? What is the main problem? In the previous video, I covered the water sources and how the water is collected here in Thailand. And now we're going to be covering of how each contaminant that's found in the water will affect your body. And I'll be breaking them into two parts. One is immediate effect and two, long-term exposure. So the number one thing you should be worried about your water is if there's pathogens, that's viruses or bacteria in your water. And it's pretty common to have that in Thailand, since a lot of the water is being stored in a water tank before it's coming for consumption. These water tanks are a good place for bacteria development to start because the water is not even in constant flow and it's in heat, humid environment constantly. This can cause a lot of problems. What happens if you drink water with bacteria? Well, your stomach might not thank you for it. You'll have some diarrhea, you'll have some vomiting, so a little bit maybe fever. These are very common symptoms for people who recently arrived to Phuket, so you do need some time to adjust your area. Moving on to contaminants that have a long-term effect on your body. So these are the things that you might be drinking them and you will not immediately feel an effect on your body, but if you're drinking it constantly day in, day out, then you have high risks of developing the sort of chronic illnesses. So for example, one thing I found that is found in the water here in Thailand is high levels of arsenic. Some areas, not all, don't worry. Whenever you have arsenic in the water, then this is actually a very dangerous heavy metal if you're drinking it long-term. Arsenic can be found in areas where there's high mining, for example, and that could cause cancer, some damages of organs, and skin lesions. These are the things that I found, and I'll be linking the links down below. So number two would be microplastics, and these are things that are common basically everywhere. Even when I was swimming on the beach, on the shore, I would find like little tiny pieces of plastic along the shore, which was very, very sad to see. And if we're consuming this and drinking it every day, it causes inflammation and even some disruption of hormones. So please be careful about this microplastics and don't just ignore them. Moving on to number three, it's nitrates that are found in the water, and this comes from farming activities. It's basically like the leftovers and feces of animals. If this is found in the water, it could be very, very dangerous, especially for little kids. Studies found that high levels of nitrates can increase the risk of stomach cancer, increase the risk of oxygen deprivation in infants, and cardiovascular strains. And last but not least, we have PFAS in the water as a big, big risk. I covered a full-on episode of how it is and what it can do to your body. I'll link it here above. But really, this is something that is not even standardized or monitored here in Thailand. And I was very surprised to hear that because PFAS you can find basically everywhere. Everything that is waterproof, it has that PFAS chemical in it. And well, this area, Thailand or South Asia, a lot of this manufacturing is actually going on around here. So I would assume that they would have high concentrations of PFAS. But I also found out that this is not being monitored by local government or authorities. So I was wondering if I could, get it tested and see if there are some PFAS residue in the water in Thailand. What do you think? So with all that being said, how are locals actually being able to, work with this type of water? Well, it's true that they're not drinking it, but they are using it one way or the other, right? So the conscious ones are actually boiling the water before consumption because that would kill the viruses and bacteria in the water. But what about all the rest of the things? I mean, boiling only kills that pathogens, but there are many other things. How are they surviving? Or are they just not living as healthy as they could? Well, in reality, your body kind of like adapts to things. If you're born in Thailand and you've constantly been in touch with this sort of water, then chances are that you already are immune to these things. But us as tourists and expats, we're coming here, we're not used to this environment, we're not used to this water, and the smallest contact with this water can actually cause some problems down the line. It could be as simple as brushing your teeth with the regular tap water or washing your vegetables and fruits. So really, the smallest thing, we need to be careful control of how we're doing it. All of that implies for the immediate effects, but what about the long-term exposure? Honestly, for the long-term exposure, we're all on the same boat here. There is no one who can build immunity, I don't know, for example, for PFAS. While it's true that this is a new word that has come to the attention of people, and that's why we need to talk about it a lot more, raise awareness about it, because we need to really normalize to have these sort of like filtration systems or rely on them, because they are the ones that they will save us from PFAS, for example. And it's called the forever chemical for a reason, because it just doesn't degrade, it just doesn't break down, you know? The only filter that effectively removes PFAS from the water is reverse osmosis units. So if you can't afford one, I would highly suggest purchasing one. I can list a few here and you can see which one suits your budget and your needs best. So let's go back to our initial question. Will you die if you drink the tap water in Thailand? And well, let's start with the day number 1 and 2. Number 1 and 2, you're going to feel a little bit bloated. You're going to feel uncomfortable. Your gut and your stomach are not like really ready for these new types of bacteria in the water, but that's as far as it could go. Day number 3 and 4, as a matter of fact, then your digestion is going to be starting to like being, you know, going to the bathroom back and forth. You're gonna have cramps, you're gonna have all this like bad stuff, vomiting and bacteria. So that's something that, moving on to day number 3 to 5, these days you're actually going to have a lot more serious problems such as diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, all these like bad things, because your gut, your stomach are just like, whoa, what's happening? Like, you know, all these things are happening. You do want to be careful with this already. You're like throwing out everything that you're eating, and that is causing you to lose a lot of electrolytes and be more dehydrated, especially in areas like this where it's very warm. You do want to be looking out for that. If you're going through such a thing, I'm very sorry to hear that, and I'm sorry for your stomach, but you do have to run to the pharmacy and get electrolyte packets, because you're losing all the minerals from your body, and you know, you do want to look out for that. And don't just go for any sort of electrolytes. Do go for ones that are approved and in line with WHO standards, because well, not everyone has the exact amount of electrolytes that your body needs, especially in conditions like this. And finally, moving on to, let's say, the last days of the week, so from day 5 to 7, these days are already, you're going to start having this compounding effect, and your stomach is not going to be liking it at all. So in these stages, you'll have risks of dehydration rises, you'll have stomach lining irritation, could cause more severe cramps. In some unlucky cases, prolonged exposure leads to parasite infection like Giardia. And these can last weeks if untreated. Nutrient absorption drops, so you might feel weaker and lose energy for sightseeing. So to simplify things, no, you will not die if you drink the tap water in Thailand, but should you drink it? Absolutely not, because it will cause slow damages and chronic gut issues. That's something that you do not want. Even locals are not drinking from the tap water, and their bodies are immune to it and they're ready for it, you know? What are they drinking? Actually, there are these things like these sort of dispensers around here, and when I first saw it, I was like, what is this? Like, this looks so sketchy. I would prefer just drinking from the tap, because this does not look like a filter. Like, this is not something that I can rely on. So I did do a little investigation of how to choose which one. There are different brands. Can you actually trust them? And testing some of them. And I will be covering that in the next video. So stay tuned to find out more about the tap water in Thailand. And don't forget to subscribe. Ciao!